Yes, sir.
You ready? Good evening. I'd like to call the village board meeting for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, September 19th, 2017 to order with roll call, please.
Kostler.
Here.
McAlpine.
Here.
Kraus.
Here.
Betts.
Here.
Weinhammer.
Here.
Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we go into the open forum, I'd like to entertain a motion to allow Trustee Cavelli to attend the village board meeting and committee meetings via telephonically due to a work commitment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did you want to unmute that? Kim, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
Welcome to the meeting.
And
It's,
I'm on my way back from my work visit, so you know.
okay. Then we'll end the call when you get here.
Yep.
Thank you. I will now move to the public forum where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I have 3 people that have signed in. One, Sharon Miller.
Hi, Sharon Miller, 248 Bell. So I attended the last board meeting, and I have a few thoughts regarding what I heard and saw. I will tell you I'm extremely disappointed in my elected officials. All of you were elected by the people of Cary under the premise that you would work for us in growing a healthy community. And although you may have your differences in how things should run, overall you were elected to work together in order to continue to maintain and improve our current standards. Let me tell you, I did not see this at the last meeting. I listened to my elected officials make several snide comments towards each other. I listened to them bickering over petty words. I witnessed temper tantrums over who said what to whom. Tempers were lost, voices were raised, and eyes were rolled. I watched as grown adults shouted over each other, showing no respect whatsoever. I felt as though I was sitting in my kitchen listening to my children argue about everything and anything. You may not like each other personally, and that's fine, but I elected you to do a job. I elected you expecting you would act like adults, put your petty differences aside, and make a difference. I respectfully suggest you start doing your job, or I will gladly vote to remove you from office. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Hauk.
Aaron Hauk, 1332 Galway Drive, Ayana Hauk, Frankie Hauk. Mayor Koenig, I stood before you 3 years ago around this time to say thank you. You had a vision for an amazing festival that I said would never work, and I ate my words after that first festival was a great success. I just want to say that it has become my family's favorite weekend of the fall. And this is my 4th year participating as a volunteer. And my kids wanted to speak to their experience this weekend as well.
Thank you to Mayor Koenig and all the trustees. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sing at the talent show at Main Street Fest. It was really fun.
That comes off.
So Frankie's being a little shy. I think her favorite part is seeing the Cary Junior Trojan Pommies perform and also eating in the whipped cream pie eating contest. I want to thank those of you, the trustees that I saw there this weekend. Thank you, Trustee Betts. Thank you, Trustee Kraus, Trustee McAlpine. Thank you, Mayor Koenig, for your time that you volunteered. I believe the page on Facebook has 280 some likes. It's a great opportunity for our community to come together. I can't even thank all of the people that are involved in getting this together, but obviously a big shout out to Lynn at the Chamber for making this happen. As I was putting chairs onto the truck Sunday night, all I could think of was, I wish we had one more day. So if you didn't have an opportunity to make it this year, I hope you're able to make it next year. Such a great opportunity for the people of Cary, so thanks again for your vision, and again, I stand corrected.
Thank you. Cassie Pinter?
Cassie Pinter, 325 Bryan Drive. I also, Mayor Koenig, heard your vision several years ago, and I'm glad that Aaron put it that way, because this was your vision. And I want to say thank you, a giant thank you to the village for supporting, first of all, Mayor Koenig's vision, and second of all, the Chamber of Commerce event. It was a fantastic day for our community. The fest offered great opportunities for everyone. I think there were over 8,000 people, so far as what I heard, that visited our little downtown area, enjoying food, drinks, entertainment. The local vendors were all out there. I tried some foods from establishments here in Cary that I hadn't tried before, and I'm going to go back. It was a gorgeous fall day of celebration and fellowship. Big thanks to Lynn Cacavello and the Chamber for your tireless, I thought she would be here, but she's probably still resting and recovering. But thank you to Lynn for her tireless dedication and hard work to make it all happen. Thank you also to trustees McAlpine, Betts, Kraus, and Mayor Koenig for the hours you spent on your feet, volunteering and contributing to the success of the event. Your hard work and commitment to your community did not go unnoticed by the attendees at the fest. Not only was this a day of simple pleasures for the adults in Cary, it also offered a great opportunity to the young adults in the community, and I'm so glad that Aaron's girls talked about it, and I can skip over that part. Also, as parents of teenagers know, our kids are required to volunteer services for so many of the organizations that they're involved in. National Honor Society, the Cum Laude program at the high school, Scouts. They have to put it on college applications. They have to put volunteers hours on scholarship applications. So many volunteer hours. This past weekend, I counted on the main list, over 100 of our students were given the opportunity to provide over 300 hours of service back to the community in which they live. This is amazing and awesome on so many levels. I walked through the family area and was overcome with gratitude as I watched our teens interacting with the young kids at the fest. They were playing games, they were supervising the bouncy house, they were painting faces. I saw a picture of my son doing the limbo with the kids. It was fantastic. I know that a large number of the student volunteers did come from the Trojan Track and Cross Country Association and the Cary Grove Booster Club. I know firsthand that this is in thanks to the volunteer grant program offered by the Chamber, which gives back a percentage of the donations made at the door, that $5 suggested donation at the door. They give back a percentage of that to the nonprofits that provide volunteers at that event, to the nonprofit organizations who provide a minimum amount of volunteers at that event. Without the financial support of the village, this grant program may not be available through the Chamber next year, which would be a shame, because there were several nonprofit organizations in the community that are going to benefit from that program. It's great to see our youth out there getting involved and giving of their time and talent. Let's make sure this opportunity is available to them again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to address the village board that hasn't signed in? We'll go ahead and close open forum at 6:09. Moving on to the mayor's report, I'll echo what some of the comments have been made. I wanted to thank the Cary Grove Area Chamber of Commerce for an outstanding job. It was an awesome event. The weather couldn't have been better. But in that same regard, I have to really thank the Public Works. Eric, your staff was phenomenal. Did a great job. It was fun seeing you there bright and early on Saturday, and with all the goings on, but it was nice. You guys came to the rescue on a lot of different things, so thank you. Pat, your team, outstanding as usual. They were fun to have around. You gets to see them in a little bit more of a joyful kind of a thing, and it was fun seeing them interacting with the children in the community and the adults, so people have an understanding of what our policing is about. So Thank you for that, and to all the businesses that supported it, the volunteers. I think the last count, there was 390 volunteers. Out of that was 100 of our high school youth. That was a great impact to the community, so thank you for that. All right, moving on to regular business. I have a couple proclamations at first. One is Fire Prevention Week, where every second counts, plan 2 ways out, October 8th through the 14th, 2017. Whereas the Village of Cary is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting in our community, and whereas U.S. home fires resulted in 2,560 civilian deaths in the United States and in 2015, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 365,500 home fires. And whereas 3 out of 5 home fire deaths result from fires in properties without working smoking alarms. And whereas Cary's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protective education. And whereas the 2017 Fire Protection Week theme, Every Second Counts, plan 2 ways out, educate the public about the vital importance of developing a home fire escape plan with all the members of the household and practicing it twice a year. Therefore, I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, do hereby proclaim October 8th through the 14th, 2017 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the Village of Cary, and I urge all people of the Village of Cary to install smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside each sleeping area, and on every level of the home, including the basement, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Village of Cary's fire and emergency services during Fire Protection Week 2017, dated this 19th day of September 2017. And one more for Cary Lions Days. Cary Lions Days is October 13th and 14th, 2017, whereas the Cary Lions Club is an active part of our community, and whereas the Cary Lions Club is dedicated to service to the community, particular in areas of vision and hearing conservation and the areas of aid to the deaf and blind. And whereas the Lions Club will participate in Candy Days on Friday 9th and Saturday, October 10th, giving away candy and accepting donations for humanitarian services. Now, therefore, I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, do hereby proclaim October 13th and 14th, 2017 to Lions Candy Days in Cary, Illinois, to urge all to donate generously, dated this 19th day of September 2017. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 5.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Was excuse me, was that Jim?
Yeah,
With the
it was
move?
me.
Okay, thank you. Betts,
Yes?
Kostler,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes,
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer.
Yes.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the September 5th, 2017 Village Board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? There was some edited, revised minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read those for the Village Board?
Are we voting on the original? Point of clarification? What is presented to us in the packet or on the revised?
What's in the, well, what's called for the motion right now is what's in the packet.
Thank you.
Is there any questions
okay,
on?
can you just repeat that so I know what are we voting on the revised minutes we got today or the one that was sent out in the packet?
The one that was sent out in the packet, it's what's currently on the agenda.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on this?
Well, I sent the revision in, there was one minor change that I had that I'd like included in the minutes.
And we did account for that, Trustee Cavelli. I think that those were in the committee of the whole minutes, I believe, that your revision was.
That's when you commented about the time. That was a committee.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I'm not aware of anything that you had submitted in the Village Board.
No.
Okay.
Okay, roll call for what's in the packet.
Kostler,
I'm just trying to put together which I'm voting on here because I'm a little confused, honestly. No
You're
revision.
voting on the original, not the revised. Is that correct?
No revisions.
Yes.
It's on the
Only,
book.
you're only voting on the original right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
No.
Cavelli?
Okay, so can I just clarify, because it's hard for me to kind of hear, and I apologize for that. So I also know that trustee Whitehammer mentioned some corrections she wanted. So we're voting on the ones that she did not get in there, is that correct?
Correct, because we called what was on the agenda that was packed with the thing, and then we could call up the,
It's hard to hear, so again, I apologize. No.
Kraus?
Yes.
McAlpine?
Yes.
Weinhammer?
No.
Betts?
Yes.
Mayor Koenig?
yes. Now I have some amended minutes for the Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. I'll entertain a motion to approve the revised minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
I guess I'm confused. Because it doesn't say the revised minutes in the agenda items.
The revised, what should have been on the dais in front of you
Right.
for
But
the village
last,
board?
the last item we voted on didn't say revised either, so we voted on the non-revised minutes.
The
So
ones
now-
that were presented.
I think we should put forward the ones that are presented, and then if we want to amend it to include the revised, then we'll amend it to include, is that what we need to do, Adam?
Adam, is that what we?
Do we have a motion on the floor yet at all? I don't think we do.
Yes, we do.
For the
Yeah, we
revised?
We
Yes,
don't, we
Jeff
don't,
and Ellen.
and for the
Then-
revised.
Then if you want to consider the revised minutes, then we have to amend the motion.
The motion was made to approve the revised minutes. And that's the question that,
The motion was
Whoever
made
made
to
the
approve
motion.
the original minutes.
No, it's
So-
revised.
not on the committee of the whole.
But that's not what it says
All right,
here.
so whoever made the motion should
But Mark
clarify
read it
which
as
set of minutes we're
revised.
referring to. Are they the ones with that came out with the packet or the one with the yellow
I think that's
revision
where
on
the
top?
confusion is coming in.
Right. So I'm saying if this does not say revised, so the motion would be for the original minutes, and then there would have
Well,
to be a motion.
I don't know what their intent was. Who made the motion?
My intent would be, I'm okay with the revised minutes.
The ones with the yellow?
Although I would
yellow
like to
on
have some discussion regarding that, because I don't think it really makes a difference in terms of what we have coming before us later in the meeting with the public policy comment. I mean, I think everything that's in these revised minutes is addressed by the public policy comment. We took out that 30-minute limit, and that's what trustee Cavelli was looking for. She's not in support of the 30-minute time limit, and that's what we're addressing. And then in the public policy comment, we say that we don't have a 30-minute time limit, that we would vote on the amount of time that is allowed for a discussion. Eliminate it, so just going forward, consider for a public comment policy. We're going to eliminate the 30-minute total time limit for the general public comment.
Well, that's committee
But I'm
meeting.
just-
We're talking about village board meeting minutes. Are you talking about
No,
committee?
we're talking about the committee of the whole.
Yeah.
And
So
her revision in the committee of the whole minutes impacts the public policy comment that we have coming up. What she wants to have changed here, she doesn't like the 30-minute time limit, and I agree with her. That so what we're going to do later in the meeting with the public policy comment is eliminate that 30-minute public comment policy. So I'm fine with these revised minutes reflecting what trustee Cavelli is looking for.
So trustee Kraus moved to approve the minutes labeled minutes revision
Yes.
For committee of the whole.
and, right. Trustee McAlpine, you seconded it. Was that also
Correct.
your intent?
Correct.
Okay, so the motion and the second are in line with each other to approve the minutes labeled with revision on top.
For committee of the
And
whole.
all
For committee of the whole on September 5th.
All I'm saying procedurally, did the original, since the original minutes are listed on the agenda, did that need to be a motion on that and seconded? Then somebody could have moved to revise them.
And I think that's where I'm kind of
So
having a little
it
bit.
seems like we skipped a step.
The first one, we did the other way, and now we're doing it this way.
Well, that's when we had asked for any discussion.
The item on the agenda is sufficient to let the public know that we are considering voting on the minutes for the September 5th committee of the whole meeting. It is acceptable for trustee Kraus to move to approve the minutes
As
labeled
revised.
as revised.
Okay, just making sure.
So we just approved the minutes as they were in the village
No.
board packet.
Yeah,
For the village board meeting.
pack, yeah.
Board,
Right. So now we're moving to the committee of the whole,
right, and
Yes.
revised.
Oh,
ones.
okay.
Revised.
the revised.
Revised.
Sounds like my classroom.
So the motion is to for the revised committee of the whole meeting minutes.
Correct.
And that's the one with trustee Cavelli saying she preferred the verbiage be not in support of the 30-minute time limit. Is that correct, trustee Cavelli?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on this? Roll call, please.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kostler,
Yes.
Thank you. Now we'll move for a consideration of the August 1st, 2017 Village Board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Well, wait,
We have to
Okay.
talk, in the discussion, we need to discuss, there's three different versions of these minutes.
okay, I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit A, the original minutes that were presented to us on August 1st in the first place.
I'll second that.
Wait a second here. All right. I apologize. Got to go deep here. There's three sets of minutes, so we're going to call the original ones that were presented for approval, and then we received another revised. After that, we'll call that B. We'll let the record reflect that trustee Cavelli has joined us at 6:21. Hi, Kim.
Thank you.
Do you want, we'll give her a second to get caught up here.
It's okay.
Take a breath. Appreciate you making the effort to get here. We are on the Village Board meeting minutes for August 1st, 2017.
Okay.
And there's a motion on the table to approve the first submitted Village Board meeting minutes. So how do we do this with the two other
The motion, the
revised?
motion on the table is to approve the original minutes described as Exhibit A in the packet.
I would like to say something. I'm not sure why anybody asked me to get stuff verbatim if you guys are not going to consider it. So that's my only question is, you know, why? Like, what was the point?
I don't know.
Because there's something that's in the meeting minutes from the last meeting that I didn't even say. In fact, it's not even my personality to say what was even put in there. It's not like even something I would even come out of my mouth. So if you guys are making changes to things, it's just, I want to be on record for saying that the last minutes, it wasn't even something that I said in the last meeting that you guys even approved. So then you asked me to go and get stuff verbatim for this meeting, so.
Well, if the point of going through this process during the discussion to approve the minutes is if there is something that is incorrectly stated on here, that's when you bring it up, and then we can make a correction on the dais and move it forward.
Which is what was done prior to tonight with the revision of the meeting minutes from September 5th. And you guys went ahead and voted that down, even though, you know, I had never made that one statement at the very end. I watched the video, and it also is not anything that would have ever come out of my mouth.
Well, when we called for the September 5th minutes to be approved, we asked for discussion. There was no discussion. That is when the time you should bring that up.
Do you think I'm going to bring something into the minutes that I mean, I was, you know, criticized in the past for not doing something word for word. So now I'm very careful to go ahead and follow your directions and get things word for word. So if something is stricken out, it's because I didn't say it. It was never said. So when you guys are not approving something, it's not something that I'm making up. It's something that I said. So I'm not understanding your whole process on approving minutes and not approving minutes. At this point, I feel like you guys are just going against me to go against me.
Well, that's your opinion, but I don't think that that's the case. I think that we're trying to move forward in a positive manner that, you know, we've always had minutes that reflected what was stated from village actions. And now you're trying to interject more verbatim kind of
Trying to take
conversations.
stuff out that I never even said and put that, instead of that, of what was not said, and say exactly what I said, word for word. Because in the last meeting minutes, you guys have a comment in there that I never said. It's not my personality to even have, to have verbiage like that. So it's frustrating to me when you guys quote me in the minutes, and it's not anything that I even stated.
Well, you had submitted, well, I think we have, I think this is, we're going nowhere with this. We have a motion on the table and a second. Is there any other discussion on the August 1st original board minutes?
Yes. Page 6. It says trustee Weinhammer asked for an update on the appointments to the police pension board and DPA that were not affirmed by the board. Mayor Koenig said they will serve as holdover appointments for the remainder of his term. That is not what he said. He said that would be until such time that he brought someone else forward. That's just a totally different,
And I didn't make
that's a
that
totally
change.
different answer to what that was. It's not a verbatim or anything like that, but it's just, that's not what was
Wait,
said.
Ellen, is this the first revision or the second revision?
This is the
It's on
first
all
one.
3 of them.
Okay.
So
I
it's
didn't
really-
do-
it's
and
the- it's
I
the
noticed that
second
as well,
revision.
and I put that in an email to Jake, because I gave him 2 different options. I said, here's verbatim, and here's just some small corrections. I did not do that, and it was village staff, so I don't want to be blamed for.
I'm not blaming anyone.
Something that I didn't do, because I
Sure.
feel like there's a lot of blame going on, and you guys are just, doing things to go ahead and go against me again. So,
I
What do you
don't,
mean by again?
again, like at the last meeting, you guys voted down my minutes last meeting too, my revisions. So that's what I mean by again.
Yeah, because we have an agreement, the previous boards have agreed on what we want the minutes to kind of look like. And you bring up these ridiculous changes, and you want verbatim this and that. So
No,
of
you're
course,
asking for it to be verbatim. I was just honoring what Mayor Koenig had asked me to do. But again, in the last September 5th thing,
I mean, we're
there's stuff in
sitting
there
here
that
again
I
having
never
this
even
discussion.
said. I didn't even see that stuff.
okay, well, I'm just addressing, Jennifer, I'm not saying that you said this. This is just how it's typed. It doesn't have any quotes saying that you said it. I'm just saying that's incorrect, that that's just not what was said. So I'm not saying that you're the one that said it. Maybe someone made an error transcribing. I don't know where it came from. But I'm just saying that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, but you
Okay,
can't
that
honor,
is,
can't honor that correction and not correction she wants. That didn't,
Serving as an holdover appointments for the remainder of his current term is a totally different,
I'm saying, I'm fine with you correcting it, but you have to honor her corrections as well.
you know what, this is board, these are things that are board actions. Some of the things that trustee Weinhammer comes up with are not necessarily actions that the board took. It's more personal things that are going back and forth.
You guys had asked me to go ahead and get the conversation verbatim because you didn't want me picking something out and putting something just in there. You wanted the whole conversation to be included. So I did exactly as you had asked me to do.
Let me just get a little point of clarification here. Trustee McAlpine, are you asking for the Exhibit A minutes then to be amended on top of what we're already doing?
I'm saying A, B, C all has the exact same thing on this. Which
Correct.
was on the very first. This is really the second, third, and fourth revision. It's not even the original.
All that's being debated right now is the approval of Exhibit A.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes, no changes, no
Nothing.
amendments, nothing. It's just what is Exhibit A are the minutes that we're voting on right now. And I don't bring that up. We don't want, I'm not going to approve that change, and I'm not going to approve that change, so.
But we can go ahead and, approve trustee Cavalli's change. So that's fine,
I will.
Okay, Jeff, I'm glad to know that that's how you vote.
all right, that's.
Yeah, I'm
that's-
sure I'll see a loop on somebody's website soon.
All right, we're going to have a roll call on this, please.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
I guess if the mayor's okay with it, then I'll say yes.
Weinhammer,
No?
Betts,
Yes.
Kostler,
No,
Cavelli,
No.
and Mayor Koenig.
Yes. Okay, moving along. Glad the minutes are done here. I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance amending Title II Administration and Personnel, Chapter 2.300 Administrative Adjudication, Section 2.300.90, Fines and Costs applicable to all offenses, and Title V Business Taxes, License and Regulations, Chapter 5.28 Solicitors.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Hello, Chief.
I did want to have some discussion on this.
That's fine.
Okay, so I know I had sent an email and it was answered. So I didn't know if the board was copied on it or not, but I just want to make clear that the certificate that the solicitors had to get before, and us changing the verbiage to get a permit instead and having the other changes, no matter what, minors would still have to get either a certificate or a permit, correct? This new thing that we're voting on does not make it that minors have to get it now when they weren't having to get it before.
It technically, under the definition of soliciting, the anyone that would be covered under that definition that is seeking to obtain orders for purchase of goods, wares, merchandise, foodstuffs, services, or any kind, character or description, whatever, for any kind of consideration, whatever, except for the sale of books, periodicals, or other publications or subscriptions to such, either personal door-to-door contact or by the use of flyers or other types of literature left on residential doors or porches. So if it fell within that definition, you would have had to you would have had to receive a certificate under the old, let's say it's the current ordinance.
Okay, can you just say, so under the old, current ordinance, are minors required to get a certificate?
Technically, they would have to if they were doing that.
Okay.
If they were doing that. But publications have always been excluded from that.
Oh, right. So us moving to a permit is not changing anything that was requested, because that's my concern. I just want to make sure that, like, if we are having, we weren't having minors do it before, and now it's going to be minors, I'm not in favor of that. So I just want to clarify that there's no change in what's requested from the minors.
So the proposed change is to allow youth groups to get a single permit issued to a adult supervisor. So instead of having each individual member of the youth group getting a certificate under the technical application of the current rules, under the proposed rules, an adult supervisor could get a representative permit for the whole group. So the rule still applies, but it allows to be done on an omnibus basis instead of individually.
And that was in discussion with our legal counsel as it relates to, we have to treat everyone the same way. So this is one way that we could do that without having to have those under 18 years of age submit to the background investigation.
Correct.
So same as before, though.
Yeah, well, technically, if the actions fell within that definition, they would have had to receive a certificate, a solicitor's certification,
Thank you.
correct?
So this is essentially the same thing that we've been working with.
Well, there's a couple things that are revised on this. If you'd like me to go through them real quick,
Would
I
you
can do
please?
that. I'd be happy to. In this submission, there's a new, we struck in the definition of soliciting the use of literature, of flyers, basically, because technically, if you were distributing flyers to residences, you would have still had to receive or obtain that solicitor's certificate that is current. So we struck that to allow those individuals that aren't going door to door, but are placing advertisement at a door that's permanently or securely affixed to a door or a portion of the home or whatever, to do that without having to receive that. So it's kind of a reduction of the requirement as the definition applies currently. So we had, doing that, we added a offense that if they violated the manner in which we have defined soliciting by means of printed material, then they would be, we would be able to enforce that. So that's the first thing that we did in this submission, is add a violation or add a section that we would be able to use to enforce this ordinance. The second thing is we struck that in the reference to using flyers or literature left at residences, residential doors or porches, so that it is now allowed. This is where Attorney Simon was referring to, and that is that individual permits are not issued for anyone that doesn't approach a residence. We would issue one certificate if someone was soliciting on private property, like the Jewel or the Walgreens, with permission of the property owner, where people were coming to them, not the solicitor going door to door, approaching someone at their residence. And then secondarily, as Attorney Simon indicated, that there's two categories of individual or groups under 18. The first one's a group. So if you had a group such as the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, a booster club, that the youth were soliciting door to door, they would be able to have one person apply for that certificate, go through the background check, but everyone else would be supervised by that individual. The second type of under
Can I ask you
18.
a question with what you just said?
Sure.
So I don't forget.
Sure.
So let's say that there's like a Cub Scout leader,
Mm-hmm.
is the Cub Scout den or the entire pack able to get one certificate for all the kids?
That's what that would, yes.
Okay.
So but someone still has to go through the background check. So that would be an adult supervisor. In a similar manner, an individual, so if there's one person doing that soliciting and they're sponsored by, for example, their legal guardian or parent, they could do the very same thing. The legal guardian or parent would have to submit to the background investigation, and then the person that was under 18 would not have to submit to that background investigation, but would receive a certificate or a permit to solicit door to door by approaching residences.
It's important to note too, I mean, we're going to have the supervising adult get the permit, but the individuals that would be going door to door, if they're juveniles, we'd still, right now, the plan is to have them have badges at least, so they're still identified here through the process.
And then finally, soliciting by means of printed material. This is where someone could go door to door, distribute flyers for lawn mowing, for snow shoveling, something like that. It excludes it now from the definition of solicitor. They can do that so long as they don't, alert anyone at the residence. But what it does do is it, identifies the size and that it has to be securely affixed to the residence in some way. And then it would prohibit the individuals that would throw it on your, driveway, if they would put a rock in a plastic bag to throw it on the driveway. So they would have to fix it in some way so that it wouldn't blow around or, be considered litter. And now, in my mind, the way that I envisioned it is it would address the individual that wanted to solicit that neighborhood business in regards to snow shoveling, lawn mowing, whatever. But they wouldn't have to obtain a permit or certificate for that. But they can't do it by alerting the person that's at the residence. So then the person in the residence wouldn't have to address this individual at all. And I think that's part of the issue here, is that if you have a no soliciting sign on your residence, you don't want to have to, entertain or encounter someone that's coming to your door to try to sell you something. So it's your election. You can take a look at it or you can throw it away. And I believe that in this submission or iteration of the solicitor's ordinance, that's the changes or updates to that.
The one final note that I'll make that we had some discussion here at the committee level on was the fees. So the chief and I went back and we looked at that, and based on the direction from our legal counsel here, we do think that $75 is appropriate and it's fair, and that's what we've landed on here. So that's come as an outgrowth here since our last discussion.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I should have mentioned that too. That was an amendment as well, as it went from 50 to 75. And I believe that we can justify, based on our staff time and equipment that we have to buy and supplies and things of that nature, that $75 would not be an unreasonable amount to charge someone for a solicitor's permit.
You mentioned the photos.
Yeah, well, that would include that. That would include both the fingerprint submission, that would be $27 off the top, and then the permit that we'd have to produce and the staff time to review the ordinance, the applications, and then to produce the permits and then to distribute them. Any other questions I can answer?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So let's go back to what you were just talking about, the flyers, when soliciting by means of printed material, then it has to be affixed to some part of the house. But if you're affixing something to somebody's house, isn't that invading them? You can't put it on a mailbox.
Yeah, and I guess you could put it either in a box that's attached to their mailbox post, but not the mailbox itself. Newspapers do that often, or you could just roll it up and put it in the door handle, or use a rubber band so it doesn't blow away, something like that. Or the door hangers. The village uses door hangers for various things in regards to alerting residents about certain things that might be happening, perhaps, utility-wise. So that was how I envisioned that.
I think with this too, we're trying to find another option here for the young entrepreneurs that they're not soliciting, but they have the opportunity to put a flyer up if they want to solicit for services.
Right. And then regarding the badges, are you going to take photographs of the kids if they're you get to?
Yes, that's
Girl
the
Scout that
whole.
goes out there. She has to have her picture taken and put on a badge too.
Right. And it would indicate the village, the name of the individual that was soliciting, the group that they're soliciting for, and the expiration of that permit, the date of the expiration of that permit.
Do they get to keep that badge? When
Sure. We're not going to take them back.
Okay, nice keepsake.
And is that required with the current ordinance that we
No.
have right now?
No, right now, well, what an individual has to do when they apply is they fill out a application. We review it. We ensure that there's no disqualifying conditions or criteria that they, would disqualify them from obtaining that permit. And so long as all that's in order, then we would approve it and issue them a piece of paper with their name, the group that they're soliciting for, and the expiration date for that permit. It's no more than 30 days. So it's up to 30 days. So the one of the detriments to the system that we have right now is that there's no identification to the individual unless you ask them for a secondary piece of identification. Where, we're looking at we're envisioning that we would produce something that would specifically identify the individual that is receiving this permit versus a piece of paper that you'd have to have a secondary piece of identification to correlate the certificate to the individual.
Can you right now, and I don't know what your process is right now, but would you be able to do things like take a copy of someone's driver's license now and retain that?
We don't do that.
I know you don't, but
Yeah.
I said, could you?
I probably wouldn't do that just because we'd have to store it someplace, and then there are requirements for storing that information.
Okay.
It's not our information to store.
So for the badges still, all 300 Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts that are going to sell
Cookies or
cookies, they would need, so we'll be printing off 300 badges.
I don't know packs that have 300. We have a lot of them go through
There's a
our
lot of
police
Girl
department
Scouts.
for tours. But for those packs, you're correct in regards to that would be the process in regards to that. However, the option is available for them, and I think it's a very good option. I thought it was very unique last time I saw it last year, where they had kind of the pop-up drive-through, cookie sales, for example. And I think that works out for everyone because you're not going door to door.
Right.
But, I think that most people saw that and a lot of them took advantage of that, and that would not require anything but a certificate for somebody to submit for, but that they were soliciting.
To clarify, and I think it's assumed, but just to clarify, it's just for the folks that are going door to door. So
Right.
that would get the badges.
Correct.
I like a lot of stuff that's happening with this, but I'm not in favor of, and I know we have to treat everybody the same, I'm not in favor of putting badges on the kids and having their photos taken or identifying them in any way. I was talking to Trustee Cavelli and I thought she said, is there a way that we can treat minors differently because they are minors or we can't?
Depends on the circumstance, but in this case, we're treating them as a group as opposed to individually like we would.
And this is not falling under the Juvenile Court Act, where we would have to specifically separate that information from adult information. That's not the case at all. They didn't do anything wrong. So it's just a matter of, capturing a photo and giving them a badge, and they would keep it because it would have an expiration date and would be of no use to us after it expired.
I think this ordinance is solid. I think it's really good. I like it a lot. You did a really nice job with everything, answering all of our questions.
Any other questions?
I think you did a great job with it. I'm just being honest. I took this opportunity this weekend and I talked to tons of parents of kids that had people in Boy Scouts and in Girl Scouts and different activities and sports, because the high school does it for sporting events and different fundraisers. And, I got the response that they were not in favor. They just didn't feel like this was overreaching. I kind of look at it as if we have the ability to put a no solicitors welcome. And if someone doesn't want a solicitor, put that on your door. That's just how I feel about it.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I would say to that too is the police department will encounter scammers. People will come up and they'll try and scam, especially elderly residents typically tend to be the targets with driveway scams. There's all different kinds of scams out there. Now utilities. Now it's being vetted through the police department and they have a badge and then we can educate the public on this. And just from my experience, that happens quite often.
I
think we're
understand.
protecting those people.
And I agree with you when it comes to elderly, that there's a lot of that going on, and there's, just to put a plug in, I think that there's going to be a big thing for fraud coming up here, that the village is going to be, is it Senator
McConkey.
McConkey is coming and going to do a program for that, so that's great from an education standpoint. My issue is the kids. So that's why I can't support this, because of the kids.
And again, we have to treat everyone the same.
I
We
understand
can't
completely.
segregate,
Yes,
groups from this, and we were trying to strike a balance.
I know.
I'm in agreement with, even though I asked to have this brought up, I'm in agreement with Trustee McAlpine. I'm just not in favor of having anything with the kids. Is there any way that we can table this and kind of come up with something that we can all kind of agree on versus just kind of killing this whole thing? We've had a lot of discussion about it. I'd hate to, just, ignore it and try and meet the needs of everybody.
What you have to keep in the back of your mind, or you have to keep within this policy discussion, is that this applies to everyone. I know you're applying it to individuals that are local, but it also applies to anyone that comes up from outside of the community to solicit here. So that's the challenge that we have in regards to treating everyone the same. And I understand, the concerns that people might have in regards to the increased, vetting or the increased review of these type of things. But again, we were trying to more clearly identify these individuals as it relates to solicitors, to, allow the individual resident to determine whether or not they were actually registered within the village and not have to ask for a certificate and then a secondary piece of identification.
I think too, I understand where you're coming from here on that, Trustee Weinhammer, and we've certainly done our best here to carve out as best as we can any kind of juvenile items with this. I just don't know if there's any further that we can go and corresponding with, the chief and talking with our legal counsel, I think we're pretty much at the limit here as far as carving out something for juveniles.
Okay, so I have questions for Adam and for you. Just with regard to other municipalities, what do they do with the kids? Are other municipalities doing this? Is it something that they're not doing?
I didn't look into that in regards to research. But solicitors don't usually carve that out. It's,
Again, from a minor standpoint, I guess is what I'm asking about.
Solicitors ordinances generally do not contain a carve-out for minors. There are unwritten practices that are developed over time in different places where the level of
scrutiny?
Level of scrutiny applied to different groups is not consistent. That's the best I can say.
But when you do that, and someone says something about that, then you open yourself up to some type of issue where they say that there's disparate treatment. And that's what I try to avoid.
The ordinance is not designed to scrutinize the kids. It's designed to allow us to avoid scrutinizing the kids by substituting an adult supervisor. So all we're doing is identifying who the kids are so that we know which group they're associated with. And residents will also know which group they're associated with, whether or not it's a local philanthropic organization or a non-local commercial organization that's soliciting the sale of magazines or whatnot. This applies to all of these different groups that might use minors for solicitation purposes.
Is not-for-profit excluded? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, say this again?
Non-for-profit, like a 501c3?
Yeah, well, there is another ordinance that addresses that. And I would be happy for people to submit that way because it goes through Jake then. Because he's the one that vets the charitable organizations. I have the responsibility of reviewing the solicitor permits for those groups that aren't charitable.
Okay, so I don't know the answer to this. So let's say like a baseball team or, somebody selling for their volleyball team to raise money. Are those considered non-for-profit then? Or
It's all related to their IRS designation.
So if it's going through the school?
I understand that, but there are certain things in our legal counsel, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to register with the Illinois Attorney General's office, and you have to be recognized by the Internal Revenue Service as a 501c3, C4, military groups are C19s, things like that. Did I get that right?
There's also a distinction between simply soliciting donations for the charitable purpose versus selling things where the net revenue ends up going towards the charitable purpose. The sale of unrelated products is considered a commercial activity, even though the benefit accrues to a charitable organization. So this ordinance is designed to address when you are selling or soliciting for the purchase of products. There's a different ordinance that applies where you're just going door to door with the Tish Cup, if you will.
An example of that might be a military organization or affiliate that stands on the roadway and asks for money only. That would be that solicitation. Yeah, you might get a Tootsie Roll if you give them some money, but they don't have to give you one.
All right, is there any other comments on this? Roll call, please.
Weinhammer,
No?
McAlpine,
No?
Betts,
No.
Hostler,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus.
No.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for all your work on that. I just need to ask the council something before I call this next item. So procedurally wise, amended things. Trustee Counselor had submitted a amended version of the next thing. How do I address that?
We ask for motion to,
Approve what's here now?
and then that could be subject to a secondary motion.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a public comment policy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Mayor, Village Board, just a quick update here. This is coming off the committee of the whole agenda. Here, there were a couple revisions that staff has made based on discussion at that committee of the whole meeting. The first item was we eliminated the 30-minute total time limit. That was requested at the committee meeting. And then also there was language that was included so that the board has the ability to increase the 3-minute limit for individuals at the board's discretion. So
I will note that the discretion to extend the time would apply on a board length, basis. It wouldn't be on a per person basis. It would be on we would suspend the 3-minute rule for this item.
Right.
It wouldn't be on a person by person basis. That's the intent.
That's how I implied it, yeah.
we did too, I think all the trustees have seen here, there was a amended public comment policy here that was placed before you, and that was submitted here by trustee Kostler.
Yeah, I just had some concerns. This is my public comment policy copy that everything that is highlighted is things that I had an issue with in this policy. I just think it's a little bit overreaching. And Adam, on that note, I'm concerned about even some of the legalities of what's in here because some of it seems subjective. And that's why I submitted a policy that was a little bit less restrictive because I believe in the person's right to free speech. And it seems like there are conditions in this policy that restrict people's ability to have their First Amendment rights exercised. And I will point specifically to item 9, where it says, any person who engages in threatening, slanderous, or disorderly behavior when addressing the village board, yada, yada, yada. And I guess, how do you define threatening, slanderous, or disorderly? And this is a point that other villages have brought up, that you can't put that kind of verbiage in there because then who judges what dictates threatening, slanderous, or disorderly? If a business comes before us and says, if you don't approve what I want, I'm going to leave the village of Cary, is that threatening? I don't know. It's subjective. So, I have many issues with this. I think it's a work in process, and what I would like to do, and what I hope we could do, is maybe table this item and look at what I have submitted as well, and maybe come up with something that's a little bit of a compromise. So.
Any other question, or any discussion on this?
My only concern is, and with all due respect, we got this at 2 o'clock this afternoon. I mean, I'm just kind of curious why, if you felt that way, why you didn't say anything last meeting when we discussed this. So that's just it's just a question to me to say, boy, to come up on the night of the meeting and say, now I have questions with this and I want it changed, when we kind of went over it last time. Trustee Cavelli had some very good changes that I agreed with time limits and things like that. We had everybody get it done. Then to come in a couple hours before the meeting, I guess I'm glad I looked at my iPad. Otherwise, I may not have seen what you were proposing to look at the changes. I think we do need to have something where, yes, it's an interpretive when you say is something threatening or slanderous or disorderly behavior, but I think we need to have something to set what proper expectations are, that people can't come up here and use profanity, or people can't come up here and disparage
But they can't
people.
use profanity. That's the First Amendment right, Adam?
Well, I guess it depends on the profanity, I guess is what I'm getting
I'm
at.
just saying, you have to be careful because we're putting our.
It's a contextual question, obviously. As a general response, without going point by point, the rules presented here are based on Attorney General opinions and court decisions that have reviewed other people's rules and how they've been implemented. I understand your concern that Section 9 could be subject to abuse. But
And Section 9 isn't really my worst concern. Actually, the first paragraph is my worst concern, where it says, the second opportunity for public comment is during specific agenda items, comma, when the board has determined that public comment would be beneficial to the board. How do we know if it's going to be beneficial if we don't listen to what they have to say?
That's a good point. Maybe we need to bring this back to committee of the whole and have more discussion on it, since I haven't had a chance to read
Right.
this yet either, so I was at work all day.
Well, I think that we're, right here, I think it's important that we're on the right path to what we need to have done. We have, our legal counsel has prepared this for us. We have to put our faith in our legal counsel. I like the way, it's, since I'm the chairman of the board and I run the meetings, I think I've proven myself to be very fair to everybody that comes and wants to discuss things. I've shut down conversations that were going nowhere fast with petitioners or residents or whatever. I think I will continue to do that. But this gives the public an understanding of what our expectations are as a board and what you can anticipate when coming to address the board. We've always given everybody every opportunity to express themselves. And sometimes, to my fault, that I've let people talk too many times, and I've had past board members tell me not to do that. But I feel it's important that you give people an opportunity. And by coming up with a policy, it's simply a guideline that will ensure us that we are all on the same page, that everybody has a complete understanding of the way that these meetings will be run and how we will handle public comments. And we've been very fair, since I've been mayor, I think I've been very fair with people as they've come up to address the board. So I don't have a problem with tabling this and bringing it back to the committee of the whole. But there are some things that I think that we need to do a little bit more research on this, and just to make sure that we're all fair. One thing that Trustee Kosser brought up about the second opportunity for public comment is specific agenda items when the board has determined that I would like to see the verbiage in that changed. But these are things that we can work together to move it forward. So with the first and second, would you amend the motion to table this?
That was Trustee Kraus and Trustee Betts.
Well, someone else can make the motion to table.
I move to table it.
Are you just waiting for Jeff to say he wants to make an amendment to the?
Anyone else can make a motion to table besides.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go ahead and table this.
I already made it.
Oh, you did? Second it? It's fine.
I think it's a good opportunity to have a healthy conversation.
I think it is too, Mayor, and I agree with you on that. I think that this is a good start, and Trustee McAlpine, I'm sorry, my plate is busy.
I know, I'm just saying it's hard, that's all I'm saying, it's hard.
But what I stated here is that there's a lot of verbiage in here that needs addressed, and the comment policy which I supplied still addresses the need with the Attorney General's opinion, but also addresses the fact that we want to hear what people in the public have to say to us, okay? And it's very fair. And on one other note on that, Adam, it's required also, as far as I know, with the Opens Meeting Act, we need to include in this policy how they can contact us outside of a public meeting. That's why I put in the email and the address of the village in mine.
It's not required by the Open Meetings Act, but it's certainly acceptable.
So, yeah.
Well, to get the ball rolling, if we can have, we're going to all agree to table this and bring it back. Trustee Kosser, you seem to have some pretty strong opinions on this, so if you could email the rest of the board with what your revisions are.
You need a motion.
Well, we're going to take a vote
Well,
on that.
we're still discussing. But since we're in discussion before, I wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page with that.
Well, I'm not. I'm comfortable with what we have here in front of us tonight. I think several of us have attended enough meetings that we know, we can feel when things are starting to careen out of control. And we need that opportunity then to kind of bring the board back, the public comment back to where we need it to be. Yeah, so no, I'm comfortable with what we have here in front of us tonight. So no, I'm not in favor of tabling this.
I would just like to have the opportunity, since Kim didn't have a chance, and it sounds like maybe Ellen or Trustee McAlpine didn't have a chance to read this, I'd like to at least have them have the opportunity to take a look at this, and if they like better what is originally presented, then they can like that better, but at least please give them the opportunity to think about this, research it, and, decide.
We can always bring it back to the way it's written right now. All right, Dave, I had a first and a second to table this. Do you
I
have
made the
that?
motion.
Yeah, I've got
Trustee Weinhammer,
Costello and Weinhammer second.
Okay, roll call, please.
McAlpine,
Yes,
Weinhammer,
we're voting to table it, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Covelli,
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving forward to our administrative support, we're going to talk a little bit about Maplewood.
Yep, Mayor, I just had one quick update on the Maplewood property, and this is a scheduling, scheduling update. We had sent out earlier today in Cary News Weekly here, the schedule for the Maplewood property coming up. We're going to have the developer back before the Committee of the Whole on October 3rd. That meeting will happen right after the village board meeting, so just want to make sure all the residents have that on their schedule. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Department head updates. Chief, you have anything for us? Eric?
One real quick item for you. I know earlier we had some great comments about the contributions of the youth of the community here in Cary. And as another example, last week we had an Eagle Scout, David Iacino. He led a project to actually coordinate, design, and plant a pollinator garden at our Public Works facility. This is over at the location that was previously discussed by the board for implementation in our work plan. And we partnered with David, and he got a group of 11 volunteers, worked with the nursery to get the right plants and planting design in place, and worked this last weekend to get it done. So we supported him with a little bit of help with the bed creation and provided the tools and some oversight. But by and large, he did most of the work, and he should be congratulated on it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have a question. Do anybody else have a question first?
Go ahead.
This is not hilarious. This is awesome. I mean, is this what David Chapman
Yes.
was working for so
Yes.
tirelessly for? Was he made aware of this, that this was going on?
Yeah, I got a great opportunity at the Main Street Fest, actually, to let David know that go check it out, and I guess that his vision came to reality with the help of another David here.
That's awesome. Yeah. And were all those flowers donated by an organization that Dave had put into motion?
There was some small costs that we had for that, but it's a great opportunity here, so.
Okay, that's cool. Next time I see him, I'll mention that to him. I didn't know that was happening, so that's a cool thing.
Yeah, the scheduling with a moving target, so he
There'll
had
be
to put together
butterflies in Cary.
It shows that even after you're off the board, we're still thinking about you and kind of your goals and objectives here, so.
That's
Can we ask where it is?
Sure, it's adjacent to the parking lot at Public Works. So off of Carywood Circle, there's between our parking lot and the detention area, there's a natural area back there. There's some green space that we had left over that we were able to fill in with the garden bed.
It'd be great to be in the Cary News Weekly.
Great, thanks. Michael, you have anything for us? Brian?
I just want to give a brief update to the board regarding the Westlake subdivision development petition that was going through the zoning process from William Ryan Homes for the development of that parcel. As of Monday this week, they've actually formally withdrawn that petition, so they will not be pursuing that project at this time. Hopefully, I'll have some additional information to relate to regarding the development going forward, but at this point, they're not pursuing that development.
Thanks, Brian. Is there any future agenda items and discussion by the village board?
I just have one item that I'd like to have discussed in a future meeting. I'd like an opportunity after the mayor's report for the trustees to have an opportunity to address the community in regards to anything that we might have attended in terms of village business, something that might be out there that we want to address. So I'd like an opportunity to have that for trustees to have some time during the meeting to talk. I know the school board has that after their administrator's report, I believe. And it's something I think would be important.
All right, we'll bring
Just
that
have
up
a
in a
discussion.
future.
A discussion, yeah.
Okay, I will entertain a motion
Wait,
to.
I have something.
Oh, you do have something.
I wrote this down because I felt like I needed to, because it's difficult to kind of follow. But it kind of follows with some of the comments that we heard today from our residents saying that they want us to work together. So I wrote it down. I just said I was really hopeful that after last village board meeting that some of the nasty Facebook postings and besmirching of people's reputations would diminish. However, it seems to be, for lack of a better statement, out of control to me. Trustee Weinhammer's page is stating such things as stuff they don't want you to know and build trust through transparency. And she's actually paying money for these posts to be boosted throughout the community. I find this to be extremely misleading to our residents, as all of our board meetings are videotaped and anyone has access to a computer and YouTube can view them in their entirety. As our village attorney stated at our last meeting, the state statute contains requirements for our meetings, for our board meeting notes. And they are the date, the time, who attended, and action taken by the board. Trustee Weinhammer was asked directly, as were all the board members, if they had any issues with appointments that were being brought forth by the mayor, as this is his responsibility per the state of Illinois Constitution. This was our opportunity to vet the candidates, and no one had an issue with the qualifications of these individuals.
I think I'm going to cut you off there because this really, unless we're going to put this forward as future business, this is the same thing that I was trying to cut off at the last meeting. Are we going to put something forward in terms of an ethics policy?
I do think we need to.
I'm fine with that, but I think this again is, it's resorting back to that, trying to call somebody out during this future business items. I'm disgusted by what I see out there. Disgusted. But I think, do we have future business items? I think we need to talk about ethics and going forward, what a social policy, I think we need to tie it in with that. But again, this, I think this is kind of going in that same direction that is being brought up at the last several meetings, where somebody wants to come out and try to call somebody out or attack somebody because of something. But I think then we need, on future business items, and I'd like to ask for that too, is I think we have in the process an ethics policy moving forward. So I'd like that move forward quite quickly.
Yeah,
I'm working on the next agenda, because it does need to be addressed, because I'm just sickened by what I see out there.
I'm working right now with Attorney Tappendorf on that policy. It's probably going to be on one of the following meetings, since we have Maplewood at the next meeting. I want to reserve all the time that we can for the Maplewood property.
And I just want us all to try and work together. We were all, every one of us is elected by different people for different reasons. But it's really important that we work together for the benefit and not worrying about other things or as anyone's looking to call people out. It's just one of those things that has got to stop. We have to move in a positive direction. We want to bring development here. We want to bring economic development. We want to have people come here. We need to show that we can work together, that we can collaborate, that we can talk outside of this meeting time, that people are willing to do that and have some discussion so we can move things forward in a positive manner.
I just want to address that. What I'm stating is nothing that's inaccurate. We're all elected officials. So if we say something or something happens, it's not that when I'm putting something out there, it's not that it's anything that's inaccurate or anything like that. So what I'm doing isn't wrong.
Again,
but there needs to be a line of decency and some common courtesy there. I mean, I was surprised I have two things. What was foiable material, first off, I was surprised that was a foiable material. And then the second thing would be that a trustee would then take that and post that on your Facebook page.
I'm asking you.
This is a trustee form of government, not a Facebook form of government.
I'm asking you not to hide information, so. And then also going back to you saying, you'd like to work together and stuff like that. An example of us not working together is everybody voting against my minutes earlier today. And then Jeff saying, yeah, that he's doing it.
Because I agreed with the changes that Trustee Cavalli put in there, because it addressed what was coming up future.
But you did not agree with mine.
No, I did not. I did not agree with your minutes that you wanted in there, the changes that you were requesting. We've been dealing with that for months.
Okay. Is there anything else that, future agenda items, future business? Thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Are we going to go ahead and submit the application process for the open appointments? I know we're waiting for you to bring a,
There are no open
There are no,
appointments.
Jennifer, there are no open appointments. None.
how, can you explain to me how that works when we don't? vote in
Jennifer, we've
favor
had
of
this
them?
We're not
conversation.
Lakewood,
It's got
okay?
answers.
This is the village
I'm
of
not trying
Cary.
to argue, I'm actually trying to understand right now.
There are no open appointments.
I know, but can you explain that to me when I ask a question? instead
I've
of repeating
explained this
yourself?
time and time again.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry,
We're-
but no, I'm not, no, I'm
I'm
not ready to
through
adjourn the
answering
meeting.
that question.
I would like to actually know for just my own sake. You know, if an appointment is not approved, and I thought it even said in the minutes, when Ellen brought it up, you will bring forward another nominee or whatever it
When
said.
I bring, and I've told you, I'm very comfortable with the appointments that we have right now. They are moving our village in a positive direction.
Even though majority of the board said that they wanted to open up the communication process to the
Jennifer,
community.
I'm
I don't
I'm
understand.
acting within my statutory rights. I have made a decision. We had an executive session vetting the qualifications of every one of the appointees. There was not one objection to the qualifications.
was.
There was not one objection to the qualifications of the appointees. So we moved forward with
So
it.
if
It's going to
anybody
be
from the
done.
community wants to go ahead and apply for these positions, they're not able to. Is that
Well,
correct?
because there's no opening. And that we did receive one application, and he was sent a letter today stating that we do not have an open application right now. Thank you. And then to look for the village website, if there is an event where there is an opening with whatever appointment there is, I will have an open process. I can assure you of that.
Okay, I'm glad we're always doing what you want to do with that kind of stuff.
That's what
You know,
needs to
this is
stop,
what
Jennifer.
we're talking about. I'm
You're not
acting
listening
within
to the
my
board, though.
rights.
That's great that it's your right.
Well, I'm sorry that you don't agree with this,
Well,
but
the
it's.
majority of the board didn't agree with it.
I'm sorry that you don't agree with this. I'm not talking to the rest of the board right now. You've addressed me with this. And if we're going to waste the taxpayers and the village board time talking over in this, it's a complete waste of time.
It's a waste of time to allow other community members to have an opportunity to go ahead and apply for things.
Yeah, I will
Okay.
give them an opportunity when there's an open. And we're going to move on with this. I will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We're going to roll right into the committee meeting minutes as soon as